Good Sunday afternoon, everyone. Let me know when you can see us and when you can hear me. I'll look for the chat to see a few folks in here. Milkmaid, I saw what you said. I don't think Mr. was looking for me to be 15 minutes early.
Okay.
A little bit of a delay. There we go. Hey, Tennessee, how are you doing? 5 by 5. We got it. Excellent. Thank you all so much for joining me this Sunday afternoon. As you can see, this is not the usual Sunday social. The usual Sunday social, if you are brand new to my channel and you're here, usually on Sundays, we have a pretty free-form live stream where we talk about anything and everything, and the chat kind of drives the topic of conversation, whatever it may be. I talk to the chat, you talk back. Some of you talk back more than others, but we're not doing that today. Today we've got a topic, and as you can see, I've got some guests today, which I'm really excited about. I've got Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival and the Livingston Man. Woohoo!
How are you
And
guys?
got the roaming prepper.
What's up?
And we are going to be talking about, like the title says, MAGS, Finding Trust in True Colors. And I started to title this something a little bit different, like MAGS Trust Issues, but as you're about to find out, that's just really me. I've got a trust issue right now. So
It's a good one.
let's see. Yeah, unfortunately, it is. It is. Let's see here. Oh, poor Ghetto. Someone's already calling you out for talking too much. That's okay. I want to say hello to my mods. I've already talked to them outside of the stream. Guys, you know what to do if there's an issue. The rules are pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of rules. Just be civil.
I'm going to break all of them.
You're not going to be civil. Oh, man.
Never.
There's not a whole lot. It's just be civil. You know, I don't care about swearing. I just ask, try not to get overly graphic. You know, we all know the adulty words. Let's just.
Fine. You know, I'll just.
I'm sorry. Well, it's just Livingston Man had to leave. So. Okay, let's see here. See a few folks. Say hello to everyone. Actually, I think we'll skip that part since we're not doing the usual Sunday. So the topic today, like I said, is MAGS Finding Trust in True Colors. And kind of what prompted this stream is something that happened very recently to me and my husband, who I call Mr. And I've actually decided to give just a kind of abbreviated version of what happened. I'm not going to take up everyone's time with the long drawn out story because that's not really necessary. Everyone doesn't need to know every single detail. I'm just going to kind of hit some high points. If you have questions about it for me, or if you have questions for the guests, and if my panel guests want to ask questions while I'm running my mouth, feel free to.
Right.
In the chat, if you will put it in all caps, I would appreciate it. It'll be easier to pick it out because I'm not necessarily going to be following the chat like I normally would on a Sunday. All right. So what had happened was, and I'm going to use fake names to protect the not so innocent. Last week, a friend of ours named Kevin, not his real name, came by, and we've known Kevin and his family for about 12 years. We always kind of counted them as part of our MAG, our Mutual Assistance Group, and they've always indicated the same to us. So we were kind of on the same page there. My husband is prior military, and so is Kevin. So they kind of became pretty good friends, and there was that commonality there, right? They could relate about a lot of things. We all have talked politics, the state of the U.S., world events, et cetera, and the need to prep, what have you. I have been wanting for all of us actually recently to sit down and kind of talk openly about preps and make plans for whatever may come in the future, because that's something we never really had done. And Mr. and I feel like things are kind of, I guess, heating up, so to speak. And, you know, we kind of felt like we needed to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, right? So Kevin came over and comes over, and there was just a change in demeanor and body language that day. I didn't think a whole lot about it at first, but he made a comment about something and said, hey, I need to get with you about, he wanted to talk about his IFAK, which is Individual First Aid Kit, okay, IFAK. And that's where you carry your first aid supplies on your person, right? Essentially, he was asking us, me specifically, because I'm the one with some medical training, he wanted me to provide him with supplies for his IFAK. Now, I don't know about you guys, but our house is not a resupply station. So I said, no, you know, okay, kind of let that go. Then after a few minutes, the topic kind of changed a little bit to, going to the shooting range, going and practicing at the range, and was talking about how expensive ammo was. And he asked a question about, well, what are you guys doing for ammo? Or it was something like that about ammo. And I felt like it was strange. It wasn't something you would normally ask. It was a little out of character. And I thought my antenna is starting to go up at this point. It was odd. Why is our friend doing this? So then we come around to, we're talking more. I feel like there's already kind of a red flag up, and we had some food that was out, some canned items on the table that we hadn't put away yet. It wasn't a lot. It was some. It wasn't even a large amount like what you would get at the grocery store, like in a, like your usual shopping trip. But I saw he kept looking at it, and he was talking to us, and he kept looking at it. And I thought, why is he still keep looking at that food? It appeared that there was a big mound, but it wasn't. There was some cases of water there and bags of dog food. It looked like a lot because there were some big items there, but it really wasn't. So finally, I just kind of, there was a lull in the conversation, and I used that as an opportunity to jump in and just asked him very directly if they were putting food back. And he looks at me and he says, well, yeah. And I said, okay, well, that's good, because, we've never really talked about it, and I just wanted to ask. And before I could get a whole, much further into that, into saying, hey, we need to all sit down and talk about it, he says yes, and he starts telling us that they just spent, like $500 at a warehouse club and all the food they got. And I'm like, okay, but I just had this weird feeling still. Something wasn't right. And then that's when everything kind of turned. He was getting ready to leave at that time, and looking back, I have to wonder if he was making a hasty retreat at this point. But he starts telling us right after saying that they've bought $500 worth of groceries at the warehouse club, that he's picked out which of his elderly veteran neighbors he's decided to hit first if they can't get food. And those were his words, elderly veteran neighbors. Wow. And we just looked at him. And he said he was complaining. He was talking more to my husband than to me. We were both just floored. We were absolutely floored. Because, like I said, Kevin's a vet, my husband's a vet. Why, it was just, it made no sense. It was so surreal. And Hubs was speechless. Mr. was speechless. And it, like I said, it was just very surreal. So I told Kevin I really didn't think that was something that he should do. It wasn't a good idea, and it doesn't have to be like that. And he did try and backpedal with me a little bit and reword it, but he couldn't, because he'd already said what he said, and there's not a better way to phrase it than, I've decided which of my elderly neighbors I'm going to go to first and take their food. And Mr. still was just speechless, and I said, yeah, no. And then what came out of my mouth next was, I told him, well, now you know that we have things, and now I know how you are, and if I see you under these circumstances in the future, I will engage. That's not exactly what I said, but that's what I'm saying for the sake of the platform. You all can read between the lines. I told him I would engage, and that startled him. He was not expecting that, and good, because it should startle someone who makes that statement, His response was, well, no, I wouldn't do that to you. I said, yeah, I think you would, because you just said you would do it to your elderly neighbors. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't really come back from that. He gathered up his things and made hasty goodbyes and left. We did try, there was a little bit more conversation. We did try to talk to him and say, it doesn't have to be this way. Why, this is why you put back. There's still time. It's not too late. Because I thought, is he freaking out? Is that what, because it didn't seem like a joke. He wasn't laughing. He had a plan, and he detailed that plan mostly to Mr., not to me. It's like he was trying to kind of reword it and placate me, but still talking to Mr. as if he thought he would be in on it and down for it, which we're not. So, but the statement he did make to us was, well, my family is gonna eat. And I thought, wow, not if someone gives you a lead sandwich first. No. So he left. It bothered us both very badly. So the next day I actually reached out to his wife and texted with her a bit. But you know what? Deep down, I already knew this was it. There's no going back. You can't let that cat out of the bag to run around the room and then take it back. That cat's run around the room and peed on everything. I'm sorry. That's been my analogy. It's out. It's gone. The damage is done. But I was still trying to hold out hope that maybe we could salvage this situation in some way. But I didn't know, even if, I couldn't trust him. You already said what you said. The thought's there. You've had the thought. You've voiced it with a plan, a detailed plan. So, but I still reached out to the wife. The wife initially just kind of did what I thought was going to happen, which was blow it off. And then when I kept saying, no, he was not joking, because that was what she said. Oh, yeah, he said that to me. He's a joke. And I said, well, it was not a joke. And he was very detailed. In fact, this is what he said. And then she tried to smooth it over and said, well, I hope he wouldn't really do that. And I feel like saying, you hope? And I kept kind of pushing it and saying, well, this, I wasn't letting it go. It's like, why are you blowing this off? This isn't a joke. And I told her he was very specific. We were concerned because we always thought that we were all a team, but now, and then it was quiet for a bit. It was through text. And then she comes back and says, he said he's sorry for saying it and didn't mean to upset you. He was sorry he said it. He did not mean it. He was just sorry he said it. So I let it go. And about an hour later, he messaged he texted my husband and said, hey, just disregard what I said yesterday. I didn't mean to upset anyone, and it was a shitty plan anyway. I was like, oh, so it was a plan. It's not a plan. What's so hard about buying a bag of rice and some beans? I mean, so we haven't spoken to them since we made the decision. I mean, that we felt like there was no other choice for us we didn't want to be associated with that. We didn't feel that there was any kind of trust there. The trust was broken. So we've cut it off. And it really sucks because that's, 12 years has to end that way. But, it's better to know now than later on down the road, or, in a future situation of some sort, Exactly. And I also found out in the process of talking to the wife that they are not prepping. They've told us for years that they are, and she admitted they are not. I was like, well, that makes that makes their plan makes more sense now of why they have that. They're not prepping.
I've heard, this isn't the first time that I've heard this.
Yeah.
I did a lot of my early days in the Patriot movement. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people in the Patriot movement whose plan is to hit a prepper. That's their goal. They're stacking bullets and body armor. They have no plans to prepare. Their preparation plans are to hit the softest targets that they can find.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with. Yeah.
If I may, I don't so much trust individuals who are. I don't want to call out all mutual assistance groups, but
no.
Like the ones I've seen here in New York, like Mike just said, they're stacking up guns, body armor, first aid kits, but like I've never seen these guys like stacking up food or actually mutually assisting anyone but each other.
Exactly.
Right.
And I've always wondered what happens when they run out of bullets to eat and they start to just turn their attention toward people who have what they don't. They're going to be very dangerous people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Honestly, Lucky, I'm wondering the way you describe that conversation, I'm wondering if in his mind, he was trying to feel if you and Mr. were on the same wavelength as him.
Oh, yeah, he was.
And he was looking for partners in crime, and now he blew it because he just realized he's been flagged by everyone else. Now everyone knows what he's about.
He is flagged because we've made some mutual friends who aren't in our area. I'm being careful how I word this. They're not here in our area, but anyway, we let them know and said, hey, we had this conversation and this is what happened. And they went, what? They were floored just like we were. Absolutely disgusted with, wow. I mean, so yeah, I've been flagged in that regard. But yes, we are definitely aware, and I have no problem letting anyone else know that there's an issue there.
I think that's a great thing about this community and this prepper movement that we have here on YouTube is that when things like this pop up, we smash them out as quick as possible and just snuff this stuff out, guys. If you see it pop up, deal with it. Put them on full public blast and deal with it. It's the only way to get rid of it, is to let everybody know that these people are a threat and that we're not safe with them around.
Right.
I mean, that being said, I've heard people, people get a little desperate. The state of the world gets in people's mind, and it's very frustrating and confusing and discouraging and everything else. We've all like popped off at the mouth with some dumb shit we're gonna do. We didn't actually do it. But in this case, like Roaming said, I think he was putting out feelers. I think you're dead right when you said that.
Yeah.
And again, like, I don't know exactly how you can rehabilitate. You wish you could, I guess, especially you're saying, I mean, this person's been a friend for a long time.
Right.
How do you rehabilitate that relationship, or how do you, I mean, all you can do is what, like you said, hope that maybe this person has left that mindset behind, but can they ever? You know, like.
Right. Well, that was right. Exactly. And that's a concern, is like, can this be salvaged? And I thought, well, even if the next day they came back and said, you know, Kevin had come back and said, I really was kidding. It was bad, really bad attempt at, you know, disturbing humor or whatever you want to call it. You know, I shouldn't have said it. I'm sorry, which was never said. It was just, I'm sorry that I said it and it upset you.
You can't unhear that.
Yeah, I was like, that's to me, that's the equivalent of, I'm sorry I got caught. That's what I hear exactly. Is I'm sorry I'm sorry
you were offended. Yeah.
I'm sorry you caught me and you are upset by it. Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, that's not an apology.
Right.
It's not a renunciation.
And it was not by her either. That was the thing. The wife, I had to ask twice before she would say that she was not on board with it. And I was like, I don't believe this.
Everybody tries to laugh off their big mistakes, and that's like the first time to know that they were serious, you know?
Right. So
we had a Kevin ourselves who actually, you know, he had made some kind of outrageous statements. So we kind of had an intervention more or less like right then and there, as a matter of fact. And this was like, if that's what you think we're going to do and what you're going to do, you can, there's the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And it calmed the situation down. I think that the fella took a minute and breathed and.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all about what happens after that conversation. Now, if you see them actually starting to change, you know, again, you might not be able to rehabilitate that.
They just put it away and they say, I can't bring that out around them.
Yeah. But you know, their true intentions, you know, it's out there. And I think those really were their true intentions, no matter what they say going forward.
Yeah.
Especially if they have like partners in crime, you know, misery loves company and so does desperation.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how many other people they talked to that said, yeah, that's a great idea. You know,
I would hope no one, but I have no idea.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, we've been, you know, we've been friends for 12 years, and it was, you know, over time the friendship, you know, increased. You know, it takes time to build that trust. We were never the type of friends where, you know, some people, you say you're friends and you're like at each other's house all the time, you're barbecuing, you're with the kids' game. Like, we weren't like that, but there was never any hesitancy if either one of us needed help with anything, or a ride someplace, or we're building this or doing that, or anything like that. You know, we were there for each other always. I mean, no questions, you know. When we did socialize some, you know, he came over, we went over there. But it was never that super,
it wasn't
super
that
close.
tight a close.
Right. We weren't like super, super, super close. Like, it was like we were at their kids' ball games and that kind of, you know, because we don't have kids. But so it's a little bit different there. But I never felt like that we weren't, like, it was like what I call a surface friendship, very, you know, not very deep friendship, but it was still, like I said, 12 years. And
that's
we were pretty close.
Time.
We were close. We were close. And so now we're trying to do a little damage control here, figure out what's what. And we live in a small area, so I frequently will see them at the store locally. So Mr. and I are going to be discussing today, actually, okay, how are we going to handle this? What are we doing? Because the thing is, I think they think there's still, that it's all good. I said, we haven't actually said the words, we want nothing to do with you, although there's been absolute silence on both sides ever since for the last week. So I think that's like, I would think, you know, unless they're really trying to really want to push and play dumb, which they might.
And sound like a kind of person who hasn't accepted the prepping thing as like a lifestyle. And it's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah.
So they're content to kind of be part of group and, you know, be a personality with it, but maybe don't want to put in the work or don't know how or aren't paying attention to the lessons. others are offering. And so that was their go-to. It's like, you know what? I'm here for the ride. And when it goes down, I'll just rob people. It's
right.
It's useless in the movement in general, you know?
Yeah,
It
marauder
is.
mentality is just going to get you killed.
Yeah, I say that marauder, raider, looter, whatever you
Yeah.
want, taker, whatever you want to call it. And the thing is, though, it's like they
It
know
throws
that,
mud all over whatever group they're affiliated with too.
right?
One of
And
them's like that. They're all like that, you know?
yeah. And so the thing is, I've offered it over the years, and even that day and the next day, when I talked to the wife, I told her as well. I was offering help. I said, "Look, I've been into this since around 98, 99.
Yeah.
I'm glad to help and offer. I can't tell you what you need to do, but I'm glad to offer assistance and guidance. If you need help tracking your food, I've got spreadsheets I built. I can give you that. Whatever's going to make it easy, so it doesn't seem overwhelming. Because for a lot of new people, it does feel that way. It can."
Where do you start? You know, that's the
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, "Oh my gosh, what it doesn't have to be that way."
We always tell people that you can sit back and watch everybody else in the world prep and then do everything they did, and it might still not work for you. This whole thing
Yeah.
is very personal. It has to revolve around what you're capable of, what resources you can get. So many variables are very personal.
Yeah, it's hard to really define what do you prep for, because I'm sure we all get that
Right.
question.
Yeah.
For all of us, obviously zombies attack. Okay, that's a real SHTF, right? But for somebody else, oh my God, my husband just died in a car accident. I have 3 kids. That's an SHTF for that family. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, Livingston, there's so many dynamic parts in that. Is this the first time?
It's the first one in a long time, Milkmaid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
but
it's
what it
complex.
is, and what it boils down to really more than anything is you have to want to do it. If you don't want to,
Yeah.
you're not going to do it. That's really, if you really don't believe that you need to do it or that you don't want to do it, and that's, yeah, that was a whole discussion that we had with a mutual friend as well.
It's funny because just our generic careers, which I won't mention in too detail, but all of us deal with the public in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
When you do that enough, you develop emotional intelligence. I don't know if you guys have heard that phrase. Clinically, it's not that, oh, I cry and I'm smart. It's how well you perceive someone else's motives, emotions, intentions. And this was something I did a whole course on this, but the fact that you pick that out and were able to devolve it that quickly, you probably actually have a very high emotional intelligence quotient, if you will. I don't know how they rank it. But that's an important skill. So, folks, even if you're someone who likes to be alone, don't hesitate to go out in public while things are not in the toilet and interact with the public and start measuring, wow, that guy said this, but look what he just did. You start to learn those patterns. It's a little harder to learn as you get older, but Lucky's breakdown of how that whole conversation went down is not everyone would have caught that and would have put them at risk. Had you not caught it, you could have been the target after the elderly guy.
Yeah,
You
the thing
don't
is,
know.
I have trust issues anyway. I'm suspicious of everyone, which I guess maybe is not a bad thing, but
The
yeah,
prepping movement is, I always refer to it as, it's a strong word, but I always call it paranoid.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Because of
fine.
this kind of thing. You're putting yourself out there and you're showing off your deer and sharing your plans, but you're really taking a leap of faith as to who indeed you're sharing it with.
Yeah.
Right. I think, yeah, I know what you mean by paranoid, maybe highly guarded.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I know it's a
very,
strong
very
word.
guarded, very selective in what we
Yeah.
tell people, because there is a trust issue. And that's why I titled this Finding Trust, because there are a lot of people. And the reason I didn't want this stream to be solely about our crap situation that we, are dealing with, have dealt with, whatever, and working through. As I told the guys backstage, everyone in chat, once I got through the blinding rage, initially it was, okay, this is something I need to put out because a lot of my regulars know on here, I like to use teaching moments. And if this isn't a big old fucking teaching moment, because I do think, and I've told the guys, I think that as a whole, we are on the cusp of seeing people's true colors come out as more and more people are trying to kind of process and navigate the stress of economy, world events, food shortages, scarcity, jobs, life in general, as it's increasing, and it's been progressively increasing over the last 2 years, I think that we are going to start finding, maybe more people are going to start finding that you have friends or you have family who haven't prepared like maybe they said they did, like Kevin and his family. We just trusted because they were friends. Of course we trusted them. But, and I'm not saying that everyone's family or friends are going to, shaft them like this, I'm not saying that, but you need to be aware there is a possibility as things go on. Maybe they really didn't put away food. Maybe they didn't get solar panels like they told you they did. Anything,
In every story, there's that guy that got bit by a zombie and doesn't tell everybody,
Yeah, exactly. Self-preservation.
It's true, though.
It's self-preservation because they don't want to be left out because they know if they're alone, they're not going to make it. So they're going to depend on everyone else to take care of them. Yeah.
And the other thing is the Tories that will come out of the woodwork, so to speak, the Tories.
Yeah.
Or the rats who will throw you under the bus fast.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was going to say, it's like people who suddenly maybe will change stream for whatever reason and decide that taking from others is a good idea. Instead of being on board, they go rogue, go Mustang, whatever you want to call it, and they turn on you basically. They switch streams.
Analogy, right?
Yeah, tree bark soup.
3 days of tree bark soup and you'll sell grandma for a can of Spam without question. So this is what we'll be up against with some folks.
The visuals you give are just awesome. Like,
isn't it?
We need to make T-shirts out of this.
That would be great on T-shirt. I like to explain that one at the HEB, right? Grocery store. What's that mean? Well,
yep. It seems that things in general, as far as SHTF, are picking up steam. I think you guys notice it too. Everything seems to be almost the quickening is upon us, and everything's happened really, really rapidly now. And I think it's important for us to continue to keep our guard up, especially for things like Lucky's talking about. That's a really scary concept that somebody that you have known for a long time will turn on potentially you for what you have when things get really bad. So
well, that's the thing. It's not really bad right now. That's the crazy part. That's why I thought
people
initially
having these thoughts in their head.
Well,
exactly, and a
seeing
plan.
The front end of it, though.
Exactly.
Look at all the minor crime. Have you guys seen the safety triangle, the OSHA, that for every 10,000 near misses, you have 1,000 light injuries, then 100 broken bones, and then you get to the top and it's like someone dies, a fatality. I think it's the same thing with this. You're seeing a large amount of minor crimes that aren't going punished, that people, theft, thievery, purse snatching, and then now we're seeing the increase in rapes, trafficking, and I think as things get worse, you're going to see more of that at the bottom. It's almost like an iceberg. The large portion is underneath, but by the time you see what's on top, it's too late.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
That is.
And I'm not sure if I'm explaining it right. I'm going to have to find the safety triangle. But you guys kind of get what I'm saying. Like when you see those minor things going on, it's such a large quantity that we haven't seen in a while. That means the more serious stuff is happening too. We're just not seeing it.
Yeah, I was on with Angry Prepper runs the NYC Prepper Network, and I was on with those guys this morning, and they were discussing some of this stuff. And yeah, man, it's time. It's time to really buckle down. Really buckle down.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's that was my plan with talking with Kevin. All like that was to say, hey, okay, it's time. We need to sit down and make sure we are for sure on the same page, because we had made loose plans with different things in the past, and come up with some different things. And it's like, we need to make sure we're still good with this. This is a procedure, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy crap. So something that someone had said to me, and actually I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but I was like, this is it. This is so true. Someone told me people's true characters always reveal themselves over time, especially under stress. Trusting your MAG comes down to the accountability and character of everyone in it. Once you know this is lacking in an individual, the trust is broken. And I was like, that's was like, thank you, because I had only had like the cat out of the bag peeing in the room analogy. So that sounds much classier. Thank you. That's much better. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Cat out of the hat.
Yeah, cats out. You can't take that back. Once you say it, it's like you've already put it in my head. I can't trust you now. Or I'll be forever questioning in the back of my brain, can I trust you? Are you going to do this again? Are you coming behind my back? But I felt like this is something that is important for everyone, because people are trying to. I've seen some other, actually, you guys, ironically, because I don't watch everyone's streams or content right when it comes out. I'm behind on a lot of stuff. I actually saw Hudson Valley. I saw in Livingston, and I saw you guys talking about community unity, your stream.
Yeah.
I didn't see it until a couple of nights ago when I was thinking, and I was already thinking, I think I want to talk about this, and I was already thinking of you guys, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, okay, here's a sign. And it was a really good stream. Anyone in chat, you need to go over there and watch that. It's about community and unity, and it's excellent. And you brought up a lot of really good information about and tips about starting community or starting a mag or group or whatever you want to call it, and kind of weeding out how to help weed out or try to weed out the bad apples, which I thought, well, that's a nice way to put it. I wasn't feeling quite that generous at that time to say it was a bad apple, but I had some other words in mind.
The rotten ones.
Yeah,
the rotten ones have to go first. Then you can work your way down to the bad apples. So.
Right.
Some of them, they just kind of need to get brushed off a little bit, maybe made to understand it, like, hey, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but no, we don't work like that.
Right.
But
that's a good point.
You can't just push away everyone who's automatic. I mean, first impressions being what they are. You also don't want to come off as hostile, like in your situation with Kevin. Now, you're still a little worried that, like, perhaps like he wasn't exactly joking, or that perhaps now you've just made an enemy. So it's another line you kind of have to walk in this game, is
keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
Yeah. Or at least put your arm around their neck or something. As long as they're right there,
And he reverts to a mafia movie.
New York, baby, New York.
I was going to say, well.
In Vietnam, when they said you got to hold the enemy close so he can't hit you.
Get the cannolis, one of my favorite movies. But what you guys saying is absolutely spot on. I mean, and perceiving, you can also tell the way the conversation goes. I've run into other people who are like-minded. One calls himself a homesteader. He said, I'm not a prepper. I have progressed past that. I'm a homesteader. He's very proud of this. And we were talking, well, if we're out in the country, so what happens? And he says, all right, who has solar panels and who has this? Because I have this. And then all of a sudden there was this big collaboration, and people were it was over a coffee pot, right? And we're just wargaming. And the boss comes in and goes, I don't even own a pistol, guys. I'm going to go bet. He actually bought a gun. But you could tell there was a positive energy in the room, right? And when we go out, work in the field, the same thing. You'll see a guy flip out a little jackery, which I've done. And I'm like, all right, everyone charge here. And then another guy says, oh, hey, I have a water filter here. Let's connect this. And you can tell, all right, you guys know the assignment. So I'm not worried about you as much as that guy over there who's going through somebody else's car. The tone of the conversation can give you a lot of clues. And obviously your radars went off, Lucky, because the way you describe it, I'm sitting here thinking, what was the body language like for you to have reacted like that? That you must have picked something up that you couldn't even describe.
Yeah, that's actually what I was about to say. It's like, I can't put my finger on what exactly. It was just not right. It was just off. And initially, everybody, I think I don't know if it's our instinct, what we want to do is when something's off is we want to excuse it or brush it away. We doubt ourselves. And I've learned a long time ago through a lot of bad experiences in my life, listen to your gut. Yeah. And I do. I listen to it. It's still occasionally I'll brush things off and I usually regret it. But yeah, you have to listen to your gut. And I just felt like it wasn't right. Something was off. I could just tell the tone and the phrasing of questions was it just wasn't him, not how we have always known. It was just different.
Has something happened in his life that may have caused a change?
Don't know.
PTSD related, that somebody died. You know what I mean? Like, because if you never picked up on it, and all of a sudden it was like, so what happened?
Well,
I
and
mean,
that's
this is
why,
hypothetical, but
To
yeah,
pick that up from people that you've known for a long time, you can kind of see the change
yeah,
in it.
yeah,
It's the new acquaintances that you really have to
right,
feel out.
With,
yeah,
with new people, I was talking about this with my wife the other day. I was musing how with new people, it's a first impression is always kind of the strongest one, but it is generally the fakest one in terms of a person you've never met before. They will be on there, so either they're a free spirit and are going to show you themselves, but most people will be on their quote unquote best behavior.
hmm
The second time you hang out, maybe you have a beer or something like that, which is a really great way to get somebody to loosen
yeah,
up a bit.
truth serum.
You'll start
it's
to
true.
get a little better of an idea of who they really are. And by the third time, you should absolutely probably have figured out what exactly this person's gist is.
Yep.
That's how I try to approach things. That's just me.
I like to take them to the live events and put them on a sleep deprivation mission from hell and see their true colors really come out. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that would do it for sure. Because without
Yep.
sleep, that definitely stresses the body.
Oh, I can keep you up
You can't
all
think
night by the
clearly.
campfire talking. That's not a problem.
Yeah,
We'll
Oh yeah.
see who you are the next day.
But as for trust and true colors, it's like you talked about a gut feeling. I often use straw man arguments such as "they say" and "research suggests." But I read someone
83%.
they said that research suggested that a gut feeling is indeed a real thing and it
Yeah.
can be trusted.
Absolutely.
Somebody once told me that that's your primal self, your ancient self, detecting what it thinks is primal danger. This is going back to our in the woods running around with loincloths time of history. We detected danger. They didn't wait. You either fought it or you ran away or the tiger ate you. That's just, and I think that's what we're lucky experience firsthand was
survival
that,
instinct.
yeah, that survival, there's like danger.
Yeah,
You don't know why. It's your ancient self detecting the danger.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. It happens.
And sometimes the danger is stupid and obvious. They're running down
sometimes
like
the
a
danger thinks that they're being
minion.
slick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Sometimes
then
that
you're
danger,
like, okay, you're just an idiot and you're dangerous. So, but
right?
You almost kind of appreciate the honesty in somebody that you can see that obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like you said, usually it's going to be with people forming groups right now or trying to form or still in the process of getting people together, whether it's friends, family, neighbors, whatever, and trying to create a community or group or whatever. It's all going to be very new and trying to establish that trust. And how much do you trust? At what point do you start trusting them? And I don't know that I have an answer for that. It's very much, I go very much by gut feeling. So that I may not be the best one to ask on
Yeah.
that,
Trust,
but
trust
I
is
don't think
something,
there's a sure trust them at 3.5 months or 8 weeks or 12
yeah,
weeks.
there is no one.
that's something
Give them all the secrets,
that's built. It's not given. So
Yeah.
Or it's forged under incredible hardship. That's why soldiers and servicemen, police, first responders, all have such a bond that they do. It's forged in fire,
Shared experience.
essentially,
Yeah.
where you've shared a shit experience.
I think maybe a financial tie to the group is a good idea. I know a couple of groups that do this with mandatory buy-ins and like mandatory dues, and it keeps everybody a little bit more honest and make sure that they are on board with things because now they're financially tied to it all. So
Yeah. And when I heard you say that on your stream, actually, I really like that. I have not heard that in a very long time. 20 some odd years ago, I remember, when I first got into preparedness, hearing, I'm going to call them old timers, but older people. They were old at the time. They were old guys. They were like my parents' age. Vietnam vets was who I was talking with, who were in preparedness, and they would talk about having a buy-in. And I thought, a buy-in? Oh my gosh, I was brand new to it, so I wasn't really into that. Or I thought, no, I'm not. And it wasn't called prepping or prepper at the time. It was survival. It was survivalists, and you were an absolute freaking nut job if you were a survivalist. So.
Yep. Some
There
kind
it
of
was.
Christian fundamentalist with AR-15s hanging out of every orifice. Yep, that's what I
Yeah,
remember.
and talking about Ruby Ridge and all the whole
Yep.
thing, of which Weaver died earlier this week. I don't know if you saw that, but
We have tried I haven't actually met a lot of it, but I always make a point to try and say to perhaps new viewers on our channel, I'll always ask Mike, are we white supremacists? Are we racist? Are we violent, malicious people? Are we marauders? And every time, of course, no. We're a bunch of normal people that just want to make sure that, like, we're going to eat when
the world falls apart.
Right. And if possible, that so can all the people in our group, however small or big that might be. What you can do to combat this sort of marauder raider mentality is, in my opinion, the same thing you can do to combat crime in general is to make sure that everybody has what they need in your group.
Yeah.
Poverty breeds crime. It's people that don't have something and decide they need it and they will go get it. Whereas if you can take steps to make sure everybody within your little circle has the basics, you can really kind of knock that attitude down, I think.
Yeah.
And some of them will need guidance, which is where we can help the community. Like I said, I had a coworker here who, when the Rona struck, it had small kids, and he was concerned, and he said, you know, what do I do? I said, I would get some I didn't make it like, oh, death, you know. I just said what I did in hurricane country, wink, wink. Get a couple of cases of water, get some of this, get some of that. If you're spending more than a couple of $100 at one fell swoop, you're probably going overboard. Wait till next paycheck, do it again. Do that a few times. And I made a mini prepper. and so he's doing this now, and him and his wife are into it, and you know, and it's on a very small scale, but I'm like, okay, you've got the right mentality. And when you kind of throw that little nugget out there and they run with it, you're like, okay, this one's a good one. Whereas when you get the comments like Lucky got, oh, well, I'll just take from the guy down the street. All right, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So you're the first one I shoot when I see you walking down the street with a shotgun.
And such a bad plan, too. I hate to interrupt you, but I mean, if you're walking into a casino, maybe you're going to rob somebody's house. What do they even have? You know?
Yeah.
Well, that was my thought was, you know, most people are not putting back. I mean, I think a lot of people are, especially, you know, over the last 2 years in particular. But still not a lot. So my thought was, especially today, I was thinking, you know, what makes you think if you go to someone's house, they're even going to have anything, you know, or maybe they have more guns than food, and good luck, you know, you just don't know. And I see this here. Hey, POTB, I was wondering if you would be here. I thought about you actually with this topic. And prepping outside the box, he's done he talks a lot about marauder mentality and marauders and a lot of stuff on his channel. Check him out as well, people in chat, if you get a chance to. And he says, stuff runs out, plans fall through. You will eventually be a marauder to someone.
Could very well be. I think the thing to say on POTB's channel is we are all Negan.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all Negan.
Is that the guy? That's like the dude from The Walking Dead or something. Right?
Yeah, he ruled with the iron fist.
I didn't like that.
Ruled with Lucille.
And what's funny is if you follow the character, and I stopped watching, I'm like 2 seasons behind, so now I'm completely confused with the character. But if you follow him and you start seeing the reveals, you realize that wasn't always him. He was kind of just like a drunk douche at some point, and then when things went south, he realized, well, I have multiple paths in front of me. And he said, this one makes sense. It didn't come necessarily from a place of evil. I think he just, the guy was a lost soul, at least the parts I've seen so far. But yeah, anyone could be Rick Grimes or Negan.
Now, the further you go into that, the more you see that he had to be the way he was to keep kind of everything in control.
Right.
And how things are falling apart as soon as you remove that piece of the puzzle, and everything kind of collapses.
Yeah.
History tells us that all the most heavily horrible shit that ever happened was committed by normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aren't we all normal people?
Whether it was
mostly.
Whether it was to satisfy the needs of the perceived needs of their country, their unit, themselves. Some people become evil as a coping mechanism. They make themselves believe what they're doing is right because they have to.
And I see something here. Durgan is saying, if being locked down for 3 weeks or more hasn't taught you to stock up, I just don't know what will teach them. But see, that's the thing, though. We weren't like China where we were welded inside our homes.
Yep.
I mean, people were out socializing at the damn Walmart. At least around here they were.
My
I mean,
boss
it
wouldn't
was
even
it was
give
a
me off.
joke. It was a joke, lockdown. So
I worked through all of that.
Yep.
So did I. Yeah, I was considered an essential employee. I actually had papers to
I'm
get
my
through.
own employee, so I am essential to myself. So I have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, you want to find a good group of people. And I've said this before, get involved. Not with FEMA's like a system, and if one thing goes wrong, it becomes a complete chaotic show. But understand your local emergency response.
Absolutely.
Right? You're sit in on your city council meetings. This is stuff everyone listening to us right now could do. Be familiar with, if they have a CERT, know who those people are. Because if they're volunteering their time to help others, that's not a bad crowd to start with.
No, sir.
And they're going to be tied in with the fire department. They're going to be tied in with the cops, the National Guard, at the local armory. They'll know what's going on. And I have a nephew who's a firefighter. So my sister's often told me, no, she's on the city council of their city. So the two of them, she's like, no, we've got it covered because we know this guy, they'll deploy this. And she knows the whole plan in her head. And I'm like, you're in the middle of it, right? You're going to be one of the ones trying to keep the city together. That's not bad stuff to know, guys. Every one of us could go to those meetings, listen in, know the local firefighters or whoever it is.
There's a lot of FEMA classes that you can take online to actually learn. They're called ICSs. It's an Incident Command System. You can take all of those online and learn everything you can about the response or lack thereof that will be coming in a disaster. It's something that, my group has worked on here. We've taken a bunch of those classes. What's the other one? Search and rescue. We've done some search and rescue training, a few of the guys. Everybody has medical training, quality medical training. Just keep plugging away at it, guys. You can get a lot of free training if you dig around online.
I had to take a lot of the ICS courses, and some of them are death by PowerPoint, but a lot of them are very useful. And you can print them out. Like you just go to the thing that says, for the hearing impaired or whatever, and it prints out the whole thing, and you could put it in a book. But understanding if it gets that bad, it's going to start at the county level and go up from there, not from the Fed. If you're waiting for the time the Feds show up, you're already too late. You're behind the curve.
You're going to start.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought that up because I was about to say there's a lot of these classes are free, completely free and open to the public. You can take them online. I saw them years ago, different things. I was like, hey, this is good to have. I had a book at one time that was being thrown away at one of the local colleges where we lived at the time. And they were throwing out a bunch of books, just things they had in the office. And it was a current book, and it was about kind of general standard operating procedures in the event of an emergency. It was disaster response for communities. And I remember I snagged that. I was like, this is good to understand. It was very dry reading, but it was a good thing to have. It's kind of obsolete now because it's pretty old. But you can take all these things online for free. There's a lot of information you can get if you want to do it. That's really what it comes down to.
And keep in mind, if something gets bad, it doesn't hurt to be involved in the response at some level, than waiting for the responders. And it depends on your personal situation, of course, but if you can go out and go to the food line and distribute, and you can sit there and talk to the sheriff or the National Guardsman and kind of understand, hey, this is what's going on. You can make informed choices, and you'll also see other people out there that are doing the same, which means like-minded people, and they're putting their money where their mouth is because they're out there in the rain with you.
Exactly. I think another thing this whole conversation drives home for everybody today is to take defense seriously. Take it extremely seriously.
Absolutely.
Because you never know who is going to turn on you. So
Yeah, and I really,
defensive mindset, guys. Defensive mindset.
Your dog has a defensive mindset right
I
now.
say there's the defensive mindset there.
Somebody's here. She doesn't bark at me, only everyone
Puppy
else.
agrees.
Right.
She's only ever happy to see Mike, really.
I was listening. I thought those were corgis at first. I'm like, man, they got big. What happened?
Yeah, no, the corgis in protective well, the little dog's in protective custody. He picked a fight with the corgis and lost, so I had to remove him. That's why they're quiet now.
They're in a holding cell.
He's in this little holding cell, basically, like a bunch of drunks in a fight. You just put them in the cell and wait till they calm down.
I'll get over it.
Let them work it out.
Yeah,
and,
check out POTB, man. Defensive stuff. POTB is the man. I hope someday I can get on a stream with POTB.
Can I?
That would be awesome.
Does that stand for President of the Bug Out by any chance?
No, it's actually prepping outside the box.
Oh.
President of the Bug Out. That's not a bad one, though, man.
If my mods could drop links, I would appreciate it. Mods, drop a link for POTB and roaming, and for Hudson. I would appreciate it if you haven't done it already.
And if you're not someone who knows how to use a pew or do combatives, even if it's hand-to-hand, if that's all you have, take a class. It's worth the money.
Yeah.
You know, or find someone you do trust to give you proper instruction.
I've done it myself. I had a friend, my wife's friend, actually. She had abusive relationship, and the guy kept coming back around and lurking around the house. And I was like, hey, man, where you live, it's 45 minutes before the cops get there. And you need to be able to protect yourself. I know you're a strong woman, but you weigh 125 pounds, and this is what we call a shotgun. So
here's how it works.
She learned, and she conquered her fear, and now she has a good home defense weapon, and she knows how to use it. So
yeah.
I actually, on my last trip to Austin, my daughter, the fiance, we've had a group of them, and I laid out long guns, and I talked to the range instructor, if you will, or the range guy, and I said, look, all of them are new. I'm giving instruction. By all means, jump in. And it was very by the numbers. Nobody could touch anything till I explained it, and then we put them in separate little cells, and off they went. And now I'm getting texts. Hey, is this a good brand? Hey, I want to buy this one. Where's a good class? You know, if you spawn it the right way, and it becomes not intimidating, but I guess empowering, they're going to run with it. And but take those classes, folks, if you haven't, even if you have a pew or, you know, whatever it is you have.
And if you don't have one, I always tell people, I've had some women say, well, I don't own anything. I don't know what to buy. You can rent guns at the range. They will rent to you. I promise. That's what I did.
Oh, yeah.
I was single on my own and not looking forward to having to possibly be a lone wolf, especially a lone wolf female, if any kind of situation happened. Not my ideal, you know, what I wanted. But yeah, I went to range and rented a couple of guns. I took a class that was taught by a woman, which I was comfortable with. And it actually turned out to be me and 3 little girls, believe it or not. And they were great. I'm like, now, why are they shooting so much better? I remember the instructor saying, well, they don't have any bad habits to unlearn. I'm like, oh, well, good point.
Yep.
But yeah, you know, and I've mentioned before the whole reason or how I came to have my weapons is I had a stalker.
Ooh.
Yeah, like a real one, not just like, oh, an ex-boyfriend that won't leave me alone. No, I had a real one, like a for real, and he's still out there, and he's in the preparedness community.
Oof.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, what was popping into my mind is something I keep saying also to my wife and anyone else who listens, and with no disrespect, and I don't mean to say that anyone is less than anyone else, but pardon me, all women should either have a pew or perhaps an electric one, goes tick, 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 or maybe something that sprays.
Yep.
And again, like what I mean with no disrespect is that women, even out there today, without shit hitting the fan, are probably the #1 target for any kind of predator.
Yes.
Yep.
No, I agree with that.
Disproportionately.
Yeah, because no matter how tall you may be, because I know a lot of ladies are very tall, they feel I'm big, I won't get messed with. That's not true. I will disagree with that as I've seen it happen. Just because you're a tall lady, if you're statuesque, whether you're petite, tall, whatever your body shape, size, anything, women are still seen as weak, and we're still targets.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
That's just how it is.
And that extra thing you can carry around with you can equalize that situation just like that.
Yeah. Carry that equalizer. Yeah, I have all that. All the goodies, all the toys,
And
whatever
if
is
you're
legal in your
experienced,
state. How about that?
yeah, good way to
Absolutely.
put
Whatever
it.
is legal in your state. Tire thumper.
But even if you're experienced, every now and then take a course, because even
Yeah.
Tiger Woods has coaches that look at him from a distance and say, "Hey, your left foot's moving, or you're moving your shoulder the wrong way," and that's golf. Okay, this is so much more serious. So train with someone else who's competent, or get an instructor, and get some pointers. You can always improve. And don't take a class and not practice. Don't shoot holes in your wall either, obviously.
Yeah,
So,
no, dry fire.
but I've
Keep fun with you.
Safety first. Safety first.
Don't shoot holes
I
in
always
walls,
say
no
that
graphic violence.
the number one rule of survival is don't fucking die.
Yep. Number one rule: you lost
Yeah.
if you didn't survive.
And if you're acting like a fool with a gun,
you might not
probably gonna
survive.
die.
Yeah.
Take it seriously, guys.
Yeah, most definitely.
And subject of, I'll go out on a limb here. I don't want to say anything that's going to get anybody in trouble, but at the end of the day, when it's your life on the line, perhaps, well, let's put legality second. Is my philosophy. I'm not saying commit war crimes, but maybe don't worry if that thing in your pocket's illegal when someone's trying to kill you, is all I'm saying.
Well, if it's, if you're already carrying it and you're aware that it's maybe does not comply with your local, state, or whatever rules, then,
Not a problem for us down here,
I'm
but
from
you
New
guys
York,
up there
we're
got to be careful.
Yeah, in Texas,
York,
we don't
we're
care. We can
butter
open
and I
carry.
need a permit and stuff. So my power tools are practically illegal from any standpoint but a job
Oh
site.
my gosh, that's scary. That's, oh man.
Well, in New York, they made everything that you could be charged with now a felony. But then, Andrew Cuomo, in his infinite wisdom, before he left office, he gave felons the right to vote again. So you can't have anything, but you can still vote for me.
Yeah. You don't have anything but the right to vote for me. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Yeah.
Exactly.
Andrew was not his dad as a governor, I got to tell you.
I remember my father bitching his ass off about Mario Cuomo, so I was kind of proud. I was like, I got my own Cuomo to bitch about. Like father, like son.
Yeah, I like that awkward text, and we can carry a sword if we want to.
I'm not sure. I think in New York, you like to carry like a big knife. You got to show it.
Yeah, you don't want to, anything. In New York City, a pocket knife will turn you into a felon.
Yeah, stop and frisk you out here.
Well, New York City and New York, there's different laws pending where you go. I can carry a concealed handgun in the state of New York. I have a permit. I've gone through all the processes. And there's a line down south that I cannot cross with my concealed weapon, or it turns me into a drive-through felon. So you have to be very, very careful about what you have, where you have it, and where you are.
He would be expected to completely secure his pistol and the ammunition in a place where he can't get to it.
Correct.
And then enter the city.
And even then, you're going to go to jail, and your lawyer will have to figure it out, because that's just the way New York works.
Yeah. So it doesn't even matter if you follow the rules. You're going to jail first, and we'll figure it out later. And you're not getting your gun back. That's for sure.
You're not making me miss that city at all, bro.
I'm sitting like, this is such a foreign concept to me. I'm like, this is absolutely crazy.
A lot of people who fly through New York City run into jams with their concealed weapon in, they take it the way that the airline tells them to. Right. And they still end up in a back room at the airport getting arrested because they had a handgun in their checked luggage, like they were
declared
in a locked box, all empty, everything aside from each other. They still go to jail. So And if depending upon the capacity of those magazines, you're looking at anything over 10 rounds here in New York State's a felony.
Actually, Lucky, to give you some context, when they were talking years ago about mass shooting, one of the reporters, I think it was on NBC News and NBC Studios in Manhattan, showed an AR-15, a 30-round mag, like the standard M4 mag. And actually it had no spring in it because he said, oh, we'll disable it so it's legal. He got questioned and he got a ticket for that, for showing a mag within the jurisdiction of New York City.
Yeah, because the mag can just jump up and do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's a felony. That's a felony. If you have
anything
over 10 rounds,
those rounds could just jump out of the mag and fly out on their own.
Well, the way that they wrote the SAFE Act was 7 rounds. You can only have 7-round magazines. Well, nobody makes fucking 7-round magazines. So thankfully, a judge struck it down and said it was arbitrary and that 10 rounds was a common magazine that you could find, and it would have to be that.
In New York, we constantly hear the argument, you don't need 30 rounds to hunt deer. Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I believe the hunting laws already say you can't have more than 5 rounds.
Correct.
So you'd already be breaking the law by doing that anyway. No, I'm just gonna say it. Nobody's hunting deer with their AR-15s.
No, they're too low of a caliber.
Not in the city, anyway.
No, those are modern sporting rifles.
Ethically, the smallest caliber you should be hunting deer with, and you're pushing it, is like 243.
Yeah. Well, I've seen guys hit the big pigs out here with the 5.56 and the 62 grain. They'll hit them with a hot load, and the pig will take a hit or two, and then they'll kill over. But that's still, you got to hit them. They can still get up and bite you if you get too close.
Sure. Well, yeah, full metal jacket rounds aren't exactly hunting worthy either. They zip right through. That's not what they're for.
Yep. Ghetto, I agree with you.
Yeah.
F what they allow. Do what you have to do to protect yourself and your family.
At the end of the day, survive, folks. That's what the prepping was for.
Yeah.
Yep. Checking the chat here. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you'd like to say in regards to today's topic or the crazy gun laws in New York? In Texas, we just open carry.
Yeah.
You're the envy of all of us like-minded people here in New York, without question.
And the reason most people leave.
So between the laws and the taxes, they made it clear who they want living here and who they don't.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I'll tell you what, Lucky, something a lot of Texans need to remember is even though you can carry in the state, if you go to Oklahoma or Louisiana, even though they're very Second Amendment friendly, since you're not a citizen there, it may or may not apply. So I always tell the new carriers, get the card, pay the $100. The class is pretty straightforward. If you don't shoot yourself and you hit the target, you should be fine. And get the little card, because once you do that, basically every state from Florida until California along the south, you can drive through and nobody, they're going to look at it. And as long as you're carrying in compliance at that area, they're not going to say a word. They're going to say, have a nice day.
There is no reciprocity with a New York State permit. The only thing that I have going for me is Vermont is constitutional carry, New Hampshire is constitutional carry, and so is Maine. So that's the only way I can travel through the Northeast corridor here is through those 2A friendly states.
Now I'm curious, Mike, how long did it take you? You said you have your concealed in New York, and I'm kind of aware that there are a lot of hoops, a lot of paperwork, takes time. How long did it take you to get?
I would say start to finish about 3 months.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, it's really, and different it's on a county level here. So every county has a little different process. And everything goes through the sheriff's department, which the SAFE Act tried to change also, where they said that the state police were going to take it over, and the state police were like, we don't want to do this. The sheriff's do a good job.
The sheriffs came out, lots of them, in an open letter, and were like, we're not going to enforce this law. So we need to rewrite it or do something.
What they wanted us to do was re-register all of our handguns with the New York State Police. And if it wasn't, you have to redo it. Your permit was a lifetime thing. They would issue you your concealed carry permit and you would have it forever. And what they want you to do now is recertify every 5 years. And it's as simple as go online, enter the serial numbers of all of your firearms in a New York State Police database, and let them know what you have at home.
This way here, the criminals are much better prepared and armed than any possible legal owner could ever be.
Because there is a box you have to check that says to do not make this information public. And you have to fill that paperwork out here in New York State, or some asshole reporter will put a list of you, your name, your address,
I remember that.
all of the fucking guns that you own online in the newspaper.
Because it's public information now.
Yeah, so you
they won't do that in Texas. You'd have to put like all the addresses. You may just look up random addresses and shit.
They really tried to make it. They tried to make it as restrictive as possible for a person trying to follow the rules.
Yeah.
So instead, you see the rampant gun crime. It's because people were like, to hell with the rules. And it was that easy. The more laws you make, the more people are going to try and break.
We can't stop human trafficking and cocaine and fentanyl at our border. You make the guns illegal, and guess what? It's going to create a black market, and only the bad guys will do it.
And we see it here, without question. Same as drugs, the same as anything else.
I'll tell you what, during Harvey, we were assigned to a medical facility on the east side of the Bush Airport in Houston, which is on the north side. And one of our staff sergeants went home because since we were in the affected area, they cut us loose. Like we do 8 hours and go home, make sure your homes are okay. And one guy didn't show up the next morning, and we started, hunting him down. And it turned out while he was serving the community, someone broke into his house and was kind of ransacking it. His neighbor is an old man with a 12 gauge, and he came out cursing in Spanish and madre, and these guys took off, and he shot in the air. He said he didn't want to kill him, but he shot in the air just to motivate them to move faster. And the sheriff, the sheriff showed up. This was toward the south side of Houston. The sheriff showed up, and he said, "Did you shoot anyone?" He said, "No, I shot in the air," and the pendejos left. And he goes, "Okay." And that was it. The conversation ended. He said, "All right, well, don't shoot if you don't have to, but take care of your neighbor." But we saw a lot of break-ins the first 72 hours when the power went out. And all of a sudden, the news started reporting. Look, you probably remember it. Oh, homeowner shoots granny, shot this guy. This guy's dog tore the crap out of the burglar, and this guy got hit by a pickup truck. And when they started going down, the criminals started going down, and then the governor said, if you commit a felony and get convicted in an emergency county, minimum 10 years in Huntsville. Wow. The shit stopped. Wow. It came to a screeching halt.
It did. It was like needle off a record, I remember.
Oh, absolutely. And it was a combination of armed citizens and the government doing what they're supposed to and enforcing civil law. So I'm listening to you guys, and like my head wants to explode.
Oh, well, I had an incident one time where I had somebody try to break into my house when my kids were small. Pre-pistol permit. It was actually what motivated me to get my pistol permit. So I heard my dog start growling. I heard my bathroom window open, and I crept in there, and some crackhead was trying to climb in my window. As soon as he put his arm through the window, I grabbed a hold of him and tried to pull him in the house.
Yeah.
Because New York State.
And so they have to be inside.
So goal is I'm going to bring this guy in the house, and then it's on. He slipped out the window. I grabbed my shotgun. I run outside, and I'm looking for these guys, and they jump in a car, and they're headed down the road. I'm like, shit, they got in the car pretty fast. There's probably still somebody here. So I've got a flashlight, a shotgun, some boots, and a coat in my underwear, trying to clear my yard in the snow.
Hey.
And when the sheriff's department showed up, the first thing I got was a gun pointed at me and told to put it in the air. And he walked over to me, took my shotgun from me, unloaded it, and then handed it back to me. And it was a horrible experience. It was absolutely horrible. When the troopers finally showed up about 40 minutes later, they proceeded to berate me because I was outside of my house with a firearm. They consider that brandishing, and you can go to jail for that. They also told me that in New York State, I can only match the level of force being brought against me. If you come with a baseball bat, I got to go find me a baseball bat so we can get it on. You come with a knife, I got to hurry up and find the knife so we can have ourselves a knife fight. So
we don't exactly have a castle law here where you can just know you're not coming in. Like there's like a fucking Geneva Convention here where you have to play fair, apparently.
Well, you know what you should have done is gotten that shillelagh I was talking about, or maybe a carpenter's hammer, which I know you have, and just crack him on the arm, and then whenever he shows up at a hospital, say he fell through the window and he fell down and broke his arm.
Oh, they can sue him for that.
Yeah.
Well, but how do they know you did it?
Well,
he fell out the window.
If I'm swinging a claw hammer, brother, I'm swinging claws first, and your hand is probably still on the windowsill.
Oh, well, then, see, you got to think that through. Just break a couple of bones.
There's no time.
I don't know. I told him to get out, and he fell. It's, gravity.
For the record, everyone in chat, we are not advocating violence or encouraging anyone to do anything to anybody.
No.
Tube's going to come for me in like 3 months. I'll get a strike.
I told you I should have just left.
No, I'm sitting here laughing with you, and I'm like, oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, no, don't hit people with hammers. That's not nice.
Yeah, don't hit people with hammers or anything else.
Self-defense is self.
You should hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and
make sure you know the laws in your area for self-defense.
That would have been there. You go. You grab his hand and start singing real loud Kumbaya through the window. You'd have freaked him out. He'd be like, "What the hell?" You'd have run down the street.
I was taught the philosophy that a pump action 12-gauge shotgun, that just the sound it makes will change just about everyone's mind.
Yeah, and no matter what language you speak, you know that fucking noise. You know
I
that.
do. I actually have some stories about that. I've told the international sign for no thank you, we're all full here, is the sound of a racking shotgun. And except for when it doesn't work, and I've had it not work, I've had somebody still try to come in on me.
Ooh.
And it was scary as shit. Because I was
farms right across the river from me. Excellent.
Scared the hell out of me. Same thing with a pistol. You can, if you get close enough to the door and let the slide on a pistol go. Not that I've done that, but I have. No, I had somebody who was trying to kick my door in when I lived in San Antonio. It was some people who were running from 5-0, and they came into the complex and split up, and they were banging on doors, trying to get in anywhere. Anyone who would open a door, they were trying to get in, and the person actually started trying to kick my door open, and I had just gotten my first firearm, which is a Glock 19, and I was like, oh, I'm going to keep everything unloaded. Yeah, I don't do that anymore, because if you've ever tried to load when your hands are shaking so badly because you're waiting for them to come in and you don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I got up next to the door and let the slide go as a, hi, I know you're here, and now you know I'm here too, and what I have. Didn't deter them. There was a pause, and they kept coming. I was like, oh my God. So,
and you know what?
Then I had to make the plan of what was the best vantage point.
He may have heard it, but he was banging, so he stopped. He was like, "What was that?"
Well, I let it go. I thought of that, and I let it. Well, no, I thought of that, and I let it go a second time, so he'd make sure and hear it in the pause.
Yeah, he was determined then.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, and that's frightening. So it was for me anyway, and I was like, holy crap! But they did not. They did not get in the door. So, but I didn't sleep the rest of the night. But I had my pew-pews. But yeah.
No, but going back to your original story, Lucky, these are all scenarios that could play out with people who know we have things, or they're looking to steal from people who might have things. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff folks need to think of in the back of their mind, because it could be a reality, unfortunately.
I think the reality of, going back to original topic of, I keep saying, and we've talked before, people behaving badly.
Yeah.
I say it kind of tongue in cheek, but it is, and you talk more on the stress side of it, and it's the stress of things that are getting to people. And I don't know sometimes, not to get into, let's discuss nature, human behavior, but why people act the way they do. But sometimes I have to wonder, do they even realize they're behaving this way, or is it just, I don't know.
But evil people, they think they're right. That's the thing you almost can't get past. I mean, pick an evil person from history. They thought they were right and everyone else was wrong.
Well, the bad guy doesn't ever think they're the bad guy. Everyone thinks they're the hero of the story. Yeah.
Or their actions are somehow justified, and that's something it's very hard to come against, except and hope they get the message.
Right. Exactly. So.
I like Bug Dude's comment, sharks with freaking laser beams on their freaking heads.
I got them. Ain't nothing fact about that, Cuomo.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, and Milkmaid and I have talked about that too a little bit. Yes, human behavior is key. Definitely. Listen to your gut, people. Absolutely.
Even read up on some real basic psychology, even to like maybe if you feel like you're not like such a people person, you have trouble reading people or something. Maybe what like Roman was talking about with the emotional intelligence, like you said, it doesn't mean like, oh, you cry so you're smart. There are clinical and scientific ways to actually be able to read people the same way that your therapist or a counselor does, and it may help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some of us will get it naturally through experiences of trauma. You get beat up once or twice as a kid, and you're like, okay, that should have been a clear sign I was going to get my butt kicked. But
yeah.
or that guy was going to try and do something bad to me. But you can also learn signs. You can learn it to a point through reading, through study. And I mean, YouTube's pretty cool in that respect. You could search, reading body language or reading facial expressions and just educate yourself. But if like Lucky and Mike had said, if you feel something's wrong, like you feel your chest go like that, that's your ancient creature of, the ancient part of you going, danger. There's something here that's not right. Leave. Don't second guess it. Well, maybe I'll help this guy get a jumper. No, because you might wind up in a problem.
Exactly.
Might wind up in the trunk with the jumper cables.
I
Just
got a
saying.
story about someone who wound up in a trunk. Not my doing, but someone I knew of.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I'll share that with you guys offline, but it was interesting.
Yeah. All the Texans, man, we're slightly jealous of you up here in the People's Republic of New Yorkistan. We have company.
Yeah.
We have company.
Oh.
Awesome.
All right. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check out of this live stream. I do indeed have some company that showed up that I haven't seen in a while.
Okay.
Mike's going to stay here with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll shake hands with you, sir.
Thanks so much. I'm sticking my hand out. Thank you so much for being here, Livingston
Thank you so
man.
much for having me. I had a very good time. And again, everybody, maybe come check out Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival's channel.
Absolutely.
As well as the Roman Prepper. We love this guy, and it was very nice to meet you, Lucky Dame.
Good to meet you.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Mike, I can't wait for my next business trip sends me to the Northeast, because then I'm definitely going to let you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
I think the closest I'll get is Pittsburgh, but that's a fun town. So
well, you let me know. I will travel. I will be the roaming Hudson Valley prepper when you come to town.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, dude. That's too many.
Well, and we're at about an hour 19, so we can go ahead and wrap it up. Unless, if you guys want to keep going, we can keep talking. But that was pretty much kind of where I wanted to go with MAGS and impressing on people that, yes, here's my crappy experience, but it's not what this stream is about. It's about being aware of this could happen to you, even though I know there's going to be people sitting out there going, nah, my friends aren't going to do that. You don't know. We never would have thought this.
No.
It's a possibility. Stress is affecting people in a lot of ways. And I truly believe we're going to be seeing a lot more of this. People are just they're not coping. They're not going to do what they say they're doing. They may not feel that they're able to, insert whatever reason or excuses, whatever you want to call it, here, And reading body language. If you don't feel that you're very apt at doing that, very good at it, ask questions. Asking questions does the same thing. I don't actually ask a lot of questions. I just go off of what I'm seeing and what my gut's telling me. But if you start throwing questions at people, if they say, well, hey, what are you doing for this? Why? Or what do you need that for? If you start asking questions, that will make people uncomfortable and they will back off, because usually people can't, when they're going to lie, they can't think of the lie quick enough.
Yeah,
they need a second to come up with a story.
That's great advice, Lucky, is put people in stressful situations. Put them in stressful situations and see
how they react.
Exactly.
Yes.
Also, don't forget putting yourself in a stressful situation. So don't wait until the blackout to test your little solar panel or test your generator, or practice with your pew. If you do hand-to-hand stuff, make sure you go to your dojo regularly, whatever it is you do.
Which is great exercise as well. And you want to have exercise. It's not, you'd said something, I believe, the other day about, it's not necessarily about, people are fixated on losing weight. That was one of your shorts, I believe.
Yeah.
People are fixated on lose weight, lose weight. Weight doesn't necessarily I knew a woman who was, this is very, just a side note here, she was super fit, and she was what, ladies we call our different body shapes by fruit names, because I guess we think that's nice. I don't know, pear shape, apple shape, all like that. She was apple shaped. She was a Zumba teacher, and she could go non-stop without breaking a sweat. She was fit. But to look at her, you would think, oh, she's, rather rotund. She was fit.
Nope.
So it's not about losing weight necessarily, your body
it's
type is
about
what
the
it is.
best health for your body.
Exactly.
Be the best you can be.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't have to be ripped, muscular. That's great if you are, but don't think that that's what it is necessarily.
Absolutely.
Having stamina. I mean, runners oftentimes are very, very slender people a lot, not always, but you generally think of that stereotypical body type of a runner as being very slender, very thin,
Right.
very, not muscular, but the endurance, the stamina to be able to, it's a lot more than I probably have. But let's see here. Can we ask questions? Yes, you can. Ask away, Prepperines. If anyone's got a question before we wrap it up here and get everyone loose.
Let's see. We have questions.
Jurgen says he's a whiny butt when he's uncovered. Everyone, I am too. It's gotten where I whine in my head after the February freeze here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That was uncomfortable, and we were a hell of a lot better off than a lot of people at this house.
Yeah,
we were a hell of a lot off better.
We didn't do badly. I know some people. Yeah, they had some. The struggle was real for a lot of folks. People died. I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was not good.
No,
But that was a big learning experience that I think people passed on, unfortunately.
Well, I had been neglecting the alternative power thing. Even having lived in hurricanes country until then.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I started budgeting in my midterm plan. Like, okay, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that solar panel, and I'm still collecting stuff. But again, don't forget to use it, right? Don't put the generator in your garage or your shed and leave it there for 6 months or a year, because then when you need it, it won't work. Pull it out, use it with your spouse or your significant other. If your kids are big enough, let them see it, know what it looks like, how to make it work. Balloon is going up slow.
I think I saw you ask this, or someone asked this, or a very similar question in Prepper Now's live last night. Did you ask this, Prepperines? And I only remember because of the one word there, boog, when to get out and boog. And I don't know that Prepper Now answered it. When I will defer to if anyone on the panel wants to say anything about it. Okay.
Go ahead.
I know what I'm going to say, but if you guys want to go ahead.
So when you bug out, if you don't have an alternate location to go to, you are a fucking refugee.
Yep.
Period. You are a fucking refugee.
Maybe
You're
I'll just
not
let
a
Mikey
survivalist. You're not a prepper. You are now a refugee. So if you don't have an alternate location, I would recommend staying put as long as humanly possible. You certainly don't want to bug out to an unfamiliar area. If you have a bug out location in mind, you better know that shit like the back of your hand. So that's being caught up on the roads. I hope to have enough preps to be able to see through that there won't be anybody on the roads when I have to go.
Yeah.
So that's my standpoint.
Actually, it's funny you say that. So actual occurrence, Hurricane Rita, we were still in Houston, or sorry, Hurricane Ike, and Katrina just happened. So everyone was freaked out. My wife's godfather lives south of Corpus in the country, and he's an old Vietnam vet. He and I get along real well. And he said, look, you kids just come down here, grab your gear, grab your kids, the dogs, go. So we did that, right? We collected the family and off we went. And we got caught on that traffic jam from hell before Hurricane Rita. And that was a mess. It took us, the drive from Houston to his house would have been about 5 hours. It took us 12. And we were doing okay. We had people trying to go north from Houston to Dallas. And Lucky, what kind of drive is that? 4.5 hours? Maybe 5?
Houston to Dallas is, it's safe.
Five-ish.
Probably pushing 5, depending on how fast you're driving.
10 hours to get from Houston to Conroe, which is a 45-minute drive on a good day.
Yeah.
And then running out of gas on the side of the road.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. When Hurricane Ike hit, I said, no, we're not doing that again. We never evacuated from any hurricane in Louisiana. We're not. That Rita was a mess. We're sitting still. The storm passed. There was a panic, right? Everyone got stuck on the roads. Not 24 hours later, just like Mike said, we were able to get on the road. We drove around the city. We didn't take that bad a hit. We were able to get what we needed. And if you can stay at home long enough to let the panic go.
Yeah.
And the authorities come in and, kind of clamp it down a little bit. That's when you should go. But Mike's absolutely right. If you don't have a destination, we always had somewhere we were going. We had an address and a name. This is the person we're going to.
Right. Not a hotel.
No.
But an actual.
If you show up at a county and they're in a lockdown because of some blackout or something, the sheriff's going to turn you away because he has to protect his people.
Exactly. Preparedness wants to know, but when is that moment?
Yeah.
In my opinion, that moment is going to be different for everybody because everybody's situation is different. It depends upon, for me, it will be if I can no longer provide myself with food, it's time for me to move on. Or if it's too dangerous for my family to stay put, then it's time for me to move on. Yeah. But I have a place to go to. I have things in other places. So I've prepared myself as best as possible to move in almost any direction and spent years building networks of people where I can go to. If not for long term, just for a short stop along the way, God forbid we're on foot, build your networks, guys. Build your networks of people. Build that trust. That's what this is all about. This is all about trust. And who do you trust? When can you trust them? And how long can you trust them for?
Build networks. I would suggest also let people think in your local area. Build it outside your area, outside your state even. We know people in other states, if, God forbid, for some crazy reason, we had to leave and go out of state, or if we were visiting, if we were off somewhere and needed somewhere, a place to run to.
Yeah.
We have trusted people, actual trusted people that we could go to that would, we would be good to as a landing point to then go wherever we needed to after that, as a safe haven or whatever you want to call it, as our safe space.
Exactly. Build those networks, guys.
Build those it's very important.
You can also use work.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be your prepping group, but a group of people that you've built your network around. Majority of the pit stops I'm making are family, friends, things like that. But I've told them, listen, if things get bad down here, I'm coming this way, and I just want to know that I have a layover here. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And again, every direction, because you never know which direction shit hit the fan is coming from.
No. And again, if you work for companies, corporations, you make those friendships. Our company has a standing deal where, if I'm traveling, say I was joking about Pittsburgh, I'm up there and something happens, the general instructions is to report to the facility, and then they're going to assign you somewhere to go, and then there'll be a pickup point. Like, they've got all this planned out. Those larger companies, they've got whole plans in place to get people back to where they need to be. So leverage those friendships you made at work.
Absolutely.
As far as, so Arqua Pass is asking, Texas has 6 power stations that went down yesterday. I have not lost power in my corner of Central Texas. You're in West Texas. Have you lost anything there?
Not out here. I think that was it Houston? Because Houston, the power goes out when butterflies
all the
fly
time.
around.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a strong breeze and
somebody sneezes, there goes the power.
Pretty much. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't even know that they had gone down, but I've been unplugging a lot more lately. I've got other things to take care of and be worried about.
I'm in the same boat. I'm like, sometimes you guys won't see me for a few days. I need to stop and get other shit done.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a lot of stuff we're doing right now, especially in this past week. But here where I am, I haven't seen it. We haven't had, knock on wood, so much as a flicker. I mean, if that were to happen, then we handle it, Let's see here. Okay, we scroll it down real quick. Durgan says, yes, but the people of Kiev had plenty of warning, and they waited until there were rockets falling, and then there was a 5-lane parking lot. Yeah.
A lot of them did, not all of them.
Yeah, a lot did. I think what was shown was the media is always going to show the worst of, oh my God, all these people got trapped. There were a lot of people that already left. They had left pretty quickly.
Yeah, if you remember, the government of Ukraine was telling them nothing's going to happen. They do this all the time. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And, you know, they
And
told
that was
them
the
that
truth.
until the bombs landed on them.
Right.
Then they said, oh shit, you guys might want to get out of here.
Time to go. Right.
Yeah.
It's not always, you know, like like Lucky talked about, it's important to trust that gut feeling. Trust that gut feeling.
Okay, let's see. And I think that's pretty much it. I see more talk and chat about power. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here if y'all are okay with that. It's been an hour and a half. We've been on here a long time. And I know everyone's got stuff to do on a Sunday.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate both of you. Everyone in chat, thanks very much for being here.
Everybody.
If anyone has any questions, you want to reach out to me in email, feel free to do that. Please go and subscribe to Roaming Prepper if you have not, and also Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. I can't recommend that stream. I loved maybe it was just the timing of it really resonated with me for this past week on the community and unity, but it was very good. And you had a lot of really good information in it, you and Livingston Man. So everyone have a great Sunday. Thanks so much for joining us here. And you guys stay safe and keep prepping out there and stay sweet.
Yeah, don't forget to smash that like button, folks.
Yes.
Hit the like
and
on
sub.
your way out. And
that's right. Subscribe. Lucky Dame should be at 3,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I appreciate the vote of confidence.
We'll take the 1,000 for now, and we'll go from there.
That's right. Hit the button. Hit the button. Don't forget the bell icon because YouTube is messing with everybody. A lot of my subscribers do not get notifications. Recheck the bell button. YouTube is messing with everybody. So
yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Russian hackers.
Yeah.
All
right. Now you said the keywords. We got to go now.
All right. We got to go.
Okay. Everyone have a great Sunday. I will see you next time. Stay safe and stay sweet.